Here with Daniel Moore is going to interview me some more about, well, whatever you want. And the
Yay.
purpose is for why.
Going deeper, going deeper into the spiritual path, what it is, what we're about. And I think even curiosity, wanting to, a desire to understand deeper, um, what things are, what our experience is, who we are. And also today, about Teotihuacan, um, more of what that is. And also to give people some understanding of it or some idea of it.
An understanding of it from a conversation.
Yeah,
Okay, okay, I'll
you
do
could
my
get
best.
something from a conversation.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess the first thing before we talk about Teo is a question that uh, arose. Actually, a client watched our interview and she asked me that, and I wasn't sure, but it was curious for me, so I thought I'd ask you. Which is the relationship between the soul and our what you call our personal consciousness or the witness observer. Is that the same? Is that for you two different elements? How do you see it?
Okay, I'll answer the question, but I want to preface that with like the interest in that area. I feel one can go into knowledge. Oh, I have a lot of information. I have a lot of definitions, or I'm seeking definitions, I'm seeking descriptions. And so I see that question coming from a genuine curiosity to understand, which is helpful. But if a person goes so far in that direction, they just have a lot of knowledge, and that doesn't necessarily help them on their journey. So we can wax on about definitions and structures and maps and draw pictures and we'll build a library. And now our mind has more information and words and symbols to play around in there. And we haven't developed the other aspects of ourselves. We haven't been more in touch with our emotional body and present, relaxed in our body. We haven't changed the regulation of our nervous system. So that will doing those things will change your life and you'll be happier. It'll improve your relationships with yourself, with other people. So the emphasis on certain things, I want to make it clear, like I don't find it important. I don't find it as important. It certainly helps because the reasoning part of the mind is curious and wants to organize it. But beyond that, that's not what the work is. That's not what will make your life better, happier, or the world a better place. So I think it's important to have a distinction. This what information is or knowledge. We used to call it candy for the reason. We have to give the mind a little bit of sugar and taste. Okay. So the curiosity is satisfied and it helps organize all these things we're doing for transformation. But then let's go to work. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's one of the principles when I share what I share. It's like it's not about to give a lot of knowledge, information, symbols, words, descriptions. That's what I'll refer to as knowledge for the mind, but rather what's the work to do. That's where the value is. So now with regards to your question, some candy for the reason, which is necessary. You have to bring the mind along on your journey. Your mind has to evolve. Your mind needs help organizing all the changes, and otherwise it's going to react and become more uncomfortable and fearful. So the soul holds the body together. It's an energetic field, and it stays with the body and is kind of an energetic ball of light around the body, basically informing the body, all the cells, what to do, how to organize into organs, how those organs work together. And my understanding, and other people could have different words for the same things. So, and then the consciousness is our presence, and our presence can extend beyond the body. While the soul stays with the body. And our consciousness is the field of energy with which we perceive.
Okay. You say your soul is around the body, organizes the information of it, holds it together, and consciousness could expand, could go in other directions. Yeah, the soul stays with the body and mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
And consciousness, the journey of consciousness is when we're born, like everything is, it's an aspect of our being, very small, and just like everything in our body is growing over time. And that degree of awareness the mind is also gathering information, we're watching, things happen, we take an action, somebody's nice to us, we take an action, we get punished. We take an action, we get rewarded, we feel accepted, oh, we like that. Oh, we get punished over here, we don't like that, right? And the mind is over here cataloging all this information of what we're perceiving. Right? And through our domestication, punishment, rewards. And now it has a whole library of information about how people respond to us that makes us feel good, how people respond to us makes us feel bad. This is like our social domestication, right? We're conditioned with punishment rewards. Mind's doing a lot of other things on our memory as well, but remembers everything that we got hurt. And now it's stored in memory, which is now unconscious to us because we can't think about all our memories at once, and it's too much information. So it does it automatically. And then guides our attention towards doing things by this program of memory. Oh, we automatically start pleasing people. We automatically start working harder to get better grades because we like the rewards, or we automatically avoid this person and hold our body in, okay, because what someone who looked like them did to us in the past, right? So then now it's informing our emotions, it's informing our nervous system, and the consciousness is watching all this. It's not aware of the whole library that's unconscious and automatic, but over time, now that consciousness, particularly, well, there's things when the belief system's not working and you're trying to make sense of your life, you're like, the automatic program's not working. We keep ending up in the wrong place, ending up unhappy or broke or sabotaging ourselves. And so the consciousness is then can awaken, usually through some kind of heartbreak and kind of go, this thing that's going automatically, that if it's working, we don't even notice, unconscious routines we're living by. But when some kind of disillusionment or heartbreak, like this is not the person I thought they were, or we discover something about ourselves, we go, wow, God, I'm behaving in a way I never wanted to behave. What's going on with me? Our consciousness wakes up and goes, what are we doing automatically? And it sees that's a time of opportunity to see the mind and go, what are all these unconscious false beliefs? What are these emotional reactions? And what do I have to do to change it? Right? So that's where awareness then can step up and you go, okay, I need to be more conscious, which means more present. And then that will change the direction of emotions to be more loving and less reactive. I want to be kinder to myself. Okay, I need to heal these emotional wounds. I need to go clean up my history of automatic programs. So this is one of the awakenings, conscious awakenings, an awareness of the mind. And it's interesting you want to talk about Teo, because this is one of the awakenings in Teotihuacan that's set up to awaken from the dream of the mind and the automatic programs of the mind and regain your freedom from being unconscious and just reacting through life.
Yeah. That's when the consciousness wakes up at some point, because usually because we have some troubles in our lives and we're unhappy. Sometimes I think in some cases, actually, it could be inspiration and we experience some burst of happiness or love that we didn't know was possible. I have a high school friend I recently met we're talking, and he was in Costa Rica for like 4 months, no phone, nothing, and just he experienced this, like, his mind quiet and beautiful. And then he came back and he suddenly noticed the difference in how he feels as he's gone back to daily living, and that woke him up to wanting to do the work. But what woke him up, he felt really good, and then he came back. He's like, okay, this is not measuring to how I want to feel now, because I have a new experience. And for him, that made the change.
Yeah.
So sometimes it could be that. Most of us, we suffer, and that's how we go.
Yeah, and for me it was like, okay, I remember when I was happy, and I'm not happy now. How do I get back there? What's happened?
Yeah.
It's like, for me, it was my late 20s, and I was burned out of work, and I was, very high drama relationship, and I'm like, I'm miserable. How do I be happy? It seems like the simple thing. But this awareness of our emotional state, we're paying attention to our emotions, like for 4 months, like towards happiness, which he probably didn't even notice how much was progressing, but then he jumps back to this other emotional state. He's like, okay, when you feel that disparity of what call it love versus drama, okay, now you're motivated. So when you start paying attention to your emotions, you get motivated.
Yeah, he was so motivated to quit. He quit his degree, and now he's like going to be a yoga teacher and stuff like that. So yeah, that made a change. Yeah. And I wanna ask you about Teo, but I wanna just go back to what you said about candy for the reason. And I also want to say another point of view and hear your thoughts about it, which is, I think it's true, like the spiritual work is primary and irreplaceable. Otherwise it becomes just ideas and like another interesting book or information you have. But if someone is genuinely, sincerely, diligently doing spiritual work, then these ideas could point that person to things that he or she are already aware of and bring clarity to them. Um, Example, for me recently is I've been reading the autobiography of a yogi, as you know, and digesting it slowly. And there's a segment about Hindu philosophy there, and they were talking about um and we mentioned that a bit, like Shiva and Shakti, and the that we have, God has, and we have, all of us, the aware aspect of our being that's just simply aware and conscious, and we have a creative aspect that's Shakti. And that brought me some clarity, even though, like, we talked about it between ourselves, but that brought me more clarity on myself, as in I have these two aspects and I can move between them. So that was helpful because I already had an experience of both. And that
Mm.
clarified for me what that experience was. And now I could even develop that in more and explore that more for myself.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
that's where it could be really helpful.
Yes. Yes, because you have an experience and the reasoning mind wants to go, what was that? And then the the knowledge is helpful because we can organize it and we then the mind goes, okay, I understand the reason because we want to understand. We want to the reasoning mind wants an explanation. So and the and then once it has an explanation, it relaxes and we can go on instead of I need to know, I need to know, I need to know.
Not just go on, we could use it,
Yeah.
use our reasoning mind to use that more. It's kind of like, people a long time ago figure out how to use fire, right? They had an experience of fire, but they had to understand how they could create that themselves. And I reckon they used their reasons to understand after they had that experience, and now they could use that over and over again. That's, I
Absolutely.
think, the usefulness for anybody doing this is like, yeah, I think spiritual practice is primary. And then having this could help inform that.
And absolutely. And usually those definitions don't mean anything until you have the experience.
Yeah.
It's
But when
like
you have it, they could
it's
remind you of that.
it yes.
They could go, oh, I remember listening to that. Now I see what this all is about. Now this helps me understand this.
Yeah. Oh no, there's value. Absolutely, there's value. We need to bring the reason along in the process.
So cool. So actually, as well, what I want to ask you about Teo is to have it be shared, but also it's going to be my third time in Teo. And I personally believe that having more of your point of view about what that is after having experienced it twice would help me and shift my experience of it the next time.
So why are you going a third time? Because it's easy for the mind to say, "Oh, I've been there once. I know what it is."
That's stupid. A
That's
stupid line
stupid.
of thinking.
Okay. Yeah. So, oh, I've been to Rome. I don't want to go to Rome anymore. It's like you're traveling to a vacation destination, right? But Teotihuacan is not that. So you've been twice. Why are you going again?
Funny you mentioned Rome. I've been there a few times. Well, I think before that, I'll tell you Alteo, but I think in general, that's a stupid line of thinking for anything in life. Because, like, even I went to Rome 3 times. I've been to New York 5 times. I'm far away from New York, yet I choose to go. It's not comparable to Teo. I'll mention that. But I think every time we go, if we look at it with fresh eyes and not for our knowledge, we can have anywhere we go, we can have a great experience. And now this is just tourist destinations, but Teo is something else completely, which is why I go. It's a good question. I think it's like an experience of an infusion of love that happens when you go there for 7 days. And every time that infusion happens and I feel it, it just changes me. And then I come back to my life and something just shifts. I have more love. I think that's the core reason. I mean, there's a lot of insights, there's a lot of cool people. It's nice to see you. There's great food. But this infusion of love, I think, is the big thing. I was just this few days back, I met a friend of mine here in Israel who loves the Toltec teachings for years. Like he considers that his primary path, but he didn't have like a teacher in it. But he loves the Castaneda books and the Miguel Ruiz books, and he's really interested in that. He wants to go one day. And it's interesting. He told me that's just what he said. He says, like, he said to me as we were walking and talking that he feels that I carry something from that place, from, he called it from another world, like when he speaks to me. And that's what he said he sensed. And maybe I think that is true, that once you go there, you carry something from there to your daily life, that infusion of love, I could say. And if you go several times, that grows, you know.
There's a I've looked at it differently over time because it's changed for me what it is and how I see it and evolved. It's going the first time, each time. It's certainly the first time. There's a what I'll call an initiation of consciousness. Is really the way a couple of trips ago, I was like, okay, that's an initiation of consciousness. What just happened during this week? Like there's a consciousness there of how to transform yourself, how to get out of the emotional drama of the mind we call hell, um, get out of suffering. How there's a whole sequence that's the process there, that's the teaching there, that they did for 1,000 years or so. It's still alive there. It's it's like you're plugging into the hyperdrive of how to awaken. It says here, we've done this in this place for hundreds, 1,000 years. Thousands and thousands of people have done it here. Get on the train of this energy. Okay. Download it and speed up when I talk about how you have to awaken from your mind, like from, and then how you expand your consciousness to be awake and move beyond your soul and open your heart and emotions. Boom, 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 boom. So there's initiations of consciousness for each level like that. The levels we talked about last time were the mind and the body and the emotional body and the soul and the gender energy consciousness. It's like there's initiations to go through each level. And the people that lived there 2,000 years ago, they lived there as the apprentices and the students doing the work at each level of that transformation. And they might live at a certain level for months or years while they work through things. We don't live there, they close it up at night, but we spend 5 days there doing the work and then come home and like, okay, your soul now knows a whole lot more about what to do that is informed in you energetically, consciously, more so than anything that you could think about. Then you're now automatically guided for a faster transformation to move out of the stories and out of the emotional drama and to heal.
Wow. I can feel it when we speak about it, the energy coming up. Do you feel that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, while we're sitting here, I put myself in a certain intent. And yeah, if I'm going to put my attention on Teo, then I'm like, I'm going to be closer to that consciousness also.
So
And go ahead.
yeah, so that like you could feel it, it has an impact on you. That's some of the things that are mystical about it is I could think every week back home, at least one week, at least one time a week, my mind seems to be transported to that place and had experiences as I shared of like after coming back, meditating and suddenly finding myself in the middle of the Pyramid of the Sun and getting some information about something. And that, what's that? Like, what's um what's that and what's unique about that place that could bring access to such experiences, potentially bring access to those? I mean, it's different for everyone.
What's that question again? What's
What do you see as unique about Teo that I mean you alluded to it a bit, but what do you see as unique about Teo that brings can bring someone access to such experiences? And you're not on drugs.
You're not on drugs? No, we don't use any power plants or any of the hallucinogenics uh, because it's not needed. We're using just consciousness and spirit and love. So it's so much part of the challenge, but to put it into words, it's like got to condense it down into these symbols, and then you get the words, but it's not going to get translated with the same meaning and understanding. Um, so let's talk about the mystical experience. Okay. What's often mystical is just something outside of what we know. So much of our conditioning for so many years, we live in a world of a virtual reality world that's so much made by our mind, of our past experience then projected out about what the world is and what the future will be. And we can only see what we can imagine. And we can only, at that point, because we've been conditioned for years, imagine what we've known in the past. You think about that. If you can only imagine what you know, what you've known in the past, or what you remember, or what your belief system is saying there, that's the mind. And if we talk about unconditional love or a heart feeling, compassion for yourself, people don't know what that is and they can't even imagine doing it because they don't have the experience of it, right? Because the mind, because we're limited to imagine what the mind has told us is available and is real. And as far as those other experiences, oh, it doesn't exist to the mind. Then the mystical experience is to have open a gap in the mind and see something beyond what we know, experience something beyond what we've known before. That's all. Now we've experienced something that's unknown to our mind, unknown to our history. For me, the first when I decided, okay, I'm going to do the work, and I started doing the work and paying attention to my dreams and paying attention to my fears, and it's okay, I got to let go of my fears. Then it was the first experience for me like that happened in Zion National Park. And I had a dream where my heart just burst with love. I'd never known that I could feel that much joy and pleasure of love coming out of me before. And I'm like, I want to feel like that all the time. Now, probably when I was a child, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, I probably loved that much but I was completely unaware, right? I had like children have so much love, but my conscious awareness wasn't very grown, so I didn't know what I had, right? And then I get domesticated and I gotta go work hard and I gotta be responsible and I gotta be serious and I'm afraid of what people think of me and I collect all of these routines in my mind. But then I was 27 and my consciousness is aware. It's like, God, I got all of this and I'm miserable, right? But I don't remember what love flowing out of me and joy was like. And so the mystical experience is then, okay, we take all of that domestication away. Because this is what we intend to entail. We take all of that conditioning of how you see the world in the way that you know it, even the way that you know yourself. You ask somebody, what do you know about yourself? And you really let them talk. They go, some things over time will come out. I don't believe I deserve to be happy and I'm a bad person. And I did these things in my past. And
Their
they'll
names
feel
and their job.
shame and guilt. And they tell you who they are by their job, right? That's their identity. They're in touch with the identity in their mind instead of like, how much is your heart capable of expressing love? How much is your nervous system capable of experiencing love and joy in your body? What's your capacity if you maxed it out? We don't even know, right? But if you start to open that up, you're like, okay, the love you feel feels like, well, this is so much bigger than our mind goes, this is so much bigger than me. There must be, so much outside that I'm now experiencing. Oh, now it's mystical.
So what you're saying is, yeah, it's mystical is just an experience outside your current experience. It's kind of like I would imagine if we came to somebody from 200 years ago with an electric car and a phone, that would be a mystical experience. It's like, what the F is this?
We showed him a video on the phone.
It's like, what?
Right?
What? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
because yeah, and yeah, I guess if you understand those or have more of those, I guess that's been my experience to some extent is now it's an experience. It's a great experience. It's just now you know this experience. So it's not labeled as mystical and maybe even you start to understand the mechanics of it.
Yeah. And you understand the mechanics of it. You could say for that group of people thousands of years ago, it was normal. It's not
Yeah.
mystical. It's normal. And if you look at a child with how much joy they feel and how free their imagination is to like imagine so many different things freely, that's closer to a normal, healthy mind. It's not been conditioned and with fear and domestication and punishments and rewards, right? That's a normal, healthy mind, which is free to love. It just has no conscious awareness of or control over its attention that much. So then now you have to develop the consciousness and the will and control of your attention to open up the love and let go of the conditioning, right? So we'll spend 2 days in Teo. Like, what's your conditioning?
Ouch. That's always an
Let's,
ouch.
that's always an ouch. I know.
That was a tough couple of days. But they're fun. They're fun. If you look at it in a proper way, they're fun.
They're like, why would you want to do that? It's like, because, we make these agreements. Oh, I'm so stupid. I'm not good enough, right? And we have the idea of ourselves. We have a memory of something embarrassing we did. We infuse our faith in it and we make the agreement. One of the lines in Miguel's books, everything's made by agreement in the mind. And so now, and then what do? We stub that in our unconscious. Like, okay, we're living with that agreement, carrying it around. Right. And so what do? We bring it we raise our consciousness. Okay. We look at it and then we do some attention. We do some dreaming. We do some exercise. We do a ceremony, break the bonds. Right. Okay. We'll even do a letting go, like a death ceremony, a burial, where we use something symbolic for rock. Okay. We have to let this go. And what are we doing? We're taking our conscious attention. We're using our intent, our power, our Shakti energy to put into this chain link. Go, and now we've let go of that thing in our mind. We let go of the emotion, maybe a lot of crying. Good.
Up to me, it's a lot of crying.
If it's up to you. Yeah.
In my case.
Yeah. And I know if for me, the crying when I was there, it was so much release. It was so much release, right? There's so much just like, oh my God, here's the pain I've been living in, and here's the price of living in fear. And yeah, I was not prepared. I didn't have handkerchief or it just snot down my face, and I'm like, I don't care. This has to go. Like
Hey, last time I had snot on you.
so so uh yeah, if you want to know what Teo's like bring some tissue. If you're gonna do Teo, well,
Or use
if you
Gary's shirts. Or use
or
Gary's
use my
shirts.
I'm usually carrying an extra handkerchief these days. So like somebody generally is gonna need one. I I used to pack a few of them and have a new one every day for somebody. Like, oh, you're gonna need this.
But that's valuable because often that's the letting go is when we cry.
What have we done? We've taken this stored energy, right? That has emotion in it because where was something painful happened, we were teased, we were hurt. What do we do? Like, we didn't process that emotion. We made the agreement, I'm so stupid, they think I'm stupid, uh, feeling hurt, and we put all our rejection, our shame, our embarrassment, our fear, our identity of that's what we are. And so we pack all that emotion in there, right? And then we go to Teo, and then we pop the balloon. We go, oh, that's hiding in your unconscious. You've been living by that. The emotion comes out. But in Teo, because you're connected to the the mega consciousness there, you're operating with consciousness from here, right? And so you process that emotion very quickly and cleanly. Instead of getting caught in the story of, oh, this is so sad and poor me, and that was terrible, what happened, which is kind of like a victim, or, oh, they did that to me, I hate them so much, judge. We don't do those reaction stories. It's like you just be with the emotion because you're in that higher consciousness. You're like, you have enough presence. And all the stories and reactions to the stories, it's just emotion. It's okay. We have it. Like a little kid, when they're hurt and they're like, oh, it hurts, and they cry, and you kiss it, and they're like, you better? Yeah, better. Boom. It's done. They never have to think about it again. And they don't carry it around. Okay. So this is they don't have a story that keeps it circulating and keeps building that knot bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it's like this, right? What people do over a lifetime of carrying a grudge, it becomes bigger and bigger, bigger. Anyways, so yeah, crying, awakening with that like plugged in to that supportive consciousness that changes the process from what a person can do on their own.
And that supportive consciousness, you say, is there are people there. I mean, I think they were practicing and living in that consciousness for many years. And then also, if my memory is correct, to my understanding, is they purposely put that in the pyramids and the structures there. And now it's like its own. It sounds like if I would have heard myself talk about this 10 years ago, I would have go, what is this lunatic talking about? But it's this own being that's aware and helps you, even communicates with you, and helps you in the process.
Yes.
And maybe for somebody who doesn't understand, I think once you give that analogy, it's like if you're in a you go to like a football stadium with like 60,000 people, you can feel that energy. And I think then if you go to like a place with a lot of history, you can feel the energy of that place and the significance of it if you're attuned enough.
Pay attention, yeah. And we'll do that. We'll do the process to tune into the different places and their specific purpose for the transformation over the week. Yeah, it's it's interesting, how a place can have memory. It's like how do we store a memory in our brain? How is that information like, okay, think about what you had for breakfast or dinner last night, right? You can
Dinner.
bring up yeah, bring up an image and picture and who you were sitting around the table with, maybe what was laughing or said, right? You replay the movie.
Yeah.
Okay. That image is stored in matter in the brain. And you put your attention there and you access it, right? If I give you a DVD, right? Well, it's just matter. It's a disc made of physical matter. But if we shine light in it, we can project a whole movie. So it's about how it's stored in matter and what you use as the instrument of light or attention to access that information of a movie or a memory is in matter. And so the and what is matter? It's a bunch of vibrating fields of energy anyways, right? So all of that, in a lot of the history, memory processes are stored there, that we'll kind of connect to and then access, um, to use that conscious to inform us, guide us.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I think of it like the atoms carry information in them. And so the atoms of that place carry that. It's kind of like, these days in science, you could take two photons that become linked and they could be billions of years away from each other and
Mm-hmm.
they could still have a connection.
Yeah, you call the entanglement theory.
The entanglement theory. So
You,
there's like
you
information
change
in
something
that.
over here. Yeah, and that information is
That is
somehow,
like memory.
yeah,
So that's the same in that place. And it's a specific kind of information that helps you awaken spiritually and um, grow into more love and cry a lot in the process sometimes.
the healing crying.
The healing cry. And
Well,
sometimes comes in dreams that are like, whoa, what was I dreaming about?
but let's cover that awakening. There's different for Teotihuacan. It's just the layout of the architecture. It covers a couple of square kilometers. Is there's there's a plaza for dealing with your mind and awakening from your mind. There's a plaza, an area where we work with and then travel up and work with, like, what's your relationship with your body? Just change the relationship you have with your body. And then we go further in the journey. Is like, what's your relationship with the emotions? Let's clean your emotions. And then what's your soul? How to connect with your soul. Okay, so your consciousness and your presence is aligned with your soul. And then the same with your gender energy and the consciousness. And then, so all of these awakenings, so that you're connecting and aligning with all these different aspects of what we are, which we talked about last time. You're in union with yourself. You're in alignment with all the different aspects of yourself. And live from there. And I call that alignment integrity. Okay. And when you want to do something, you do it. You don't doubt or fear or hesitate. Okay.
You
When
do
your
things
body,
that are
your,
impeccable.
well, that goes with the love. That goes with compassion, which happens when your consciousness expands. Because when you clean your emotions, you return to that kind of joyful childish state, and now you can act with love. But not naive now like a child, but with awareness, wise. So getting all of that organized in alignment within yourself is integrity. And that means, okay, your body, you don't push your body too hard. You don't abuse yourself emotionally. You're aware. It's like, oh, that doesn't feel good. Okay, I don't want that kind of conversation with this person. Okay. You're aware when your body's rest or hurt, like I need to take care of my body. And so the physical abuse, maybe less alcohol, the way you treat your body with more love is going to change your diet, right? You're aware of your emotions. You're like, I want to live in a way of love. So all of these things start to be aligned, and the way you live just naturally is going to be different. Without oh, it's a struggle, it takes so much work. It's like, no, if your energies are clean and in alignment, you just do it.
You just do it. It comes off naturally.
Yeah. It's a lifestyle.
It comes off from your feeling state because you feel love and aligned, and then naturally your feelings affect your thoughts and your behaviors.
Yeah. Well, and the, as I put it, we live a lot in the mind in terms of the stories, the narrative stories in our head. And a lot of those narrative stories are dictated by the inner critic, the judge character. And they are a matter of what we should do and supposed to do, right? Because we learn in domestication, oh, I need to get the reward, I need to get attention and love and be a success. Oh, and I need to avoid the punishment and the fear and what other people think of me, right? So I should do this. I shouldn't do that, right? So we live our life controlled by the inner critic, fear, judgments, trying to make that voice in our head happy. So that's suffering. That's miserable. We're victimized by the voice in our head. So when you don't do that anymore, sometimes you're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do or how to live, or you have to make that transition and go, because the mind starts to have a reaction because we're so used to living that way. There's a fear that comes up. They're like, well, we don't know how to guide our own life. Okay, what will I do if I don't follow what everybody else says I should do? Like, and then we have to pay attention, like, what do I love? What feels good? How does it feel? Okay. When I drink a beer, how does it feel the next day? What's all the stories of like the socialization, like, oh, I'm with my friends and what do they think of me? Yeah, I'm going to have another. That's the should. And then next morning, we're like, oh, why did I do that? Well, because you're living by the should. But if you can connect, yeah, when I have a beer and the next day I feel like crap, like, no, thank you. Water's good. So easy choice. You're happier that day and you're happier the next day. So, but it takes a while to transition to say, okay, I'm going to do what I love. I'm going to do what I trust, what feels good, what makes my heart sing, what's joyful and delightful to me, what I appreciate. And so
I think,
this is a looks scary from the point of view of the mind because we're leaving this kind of should world of what we worked for us growing up.
yeah, yeah, and exactly what you said about it feeling scary for the mind. I think some of that is we know that it would be great to prioritize what we love, but we need to have it be, I guess, in our own thinking and perception okay enough to go after that and not follow maybe the survival state of our nervous system, or which could be appear in many ways, such as the judge, such as fears, such as conditioning. And we have to change our values in a way to say it's okay to not follow that. And I would rather follow what feels good and still
Yeah,
manage my life wisely.
yeah, yeah. And because you make that transition, and this is important, because you make that transition, you're like, okay, I let go of my fears and judgments, and I can say it's like it doesn't mean like I never have a fear again or have to go revisit that process. I remember several years into the work, I was like, oh, I had started teaching. I knew that I wanted to teach full time, and then I got laid off from my job, and I was like, oh man, do I take this? Because I wasn't ready to teach full time. It's like, the business is starting to work. Do I trust it entirely? And I had a half a day of kind of panicking. Oh no, what if it doesn't work out and I don't have money? And and I was like, wow, okay, this is going on. This is the new leap of faith. Gotta trust this. This is really what I want. And here's a reaction of fear and safety, survival, money showing up. Like, okay, what am I going to do? Yeah, I'm going to go for it. Do I go back and live by the fear? It's like, I got to go do this. Let's go get a job. I'm like, no, I'm going to go do this. And if it doesn't work out, if I'm not making enough income for what I need, I'll go back and get a job and then continue to build it. And then I was like, oh, okay. But in that
That's so
panicky,
sensical when you really think about it. We don't
yeah.
notice that when our mind is panicking. Right? That's like super sensical to do.
Well, but this is taking conscious awareness, seeing what the mind is doing. Oh, it's panicking and trying to move this extreme. No, just go get a job. Like abandon this teaching, right? It takes it's not sensical, but awareness of watching the mind, you can be sensical and go, well, I could do that, but not yet. Let's see how this works out. I've got some money saved. I have some income from clients and workshops I was doing. I was like, well, let's continue. So, but that's how you use awareness to now manage the mind and go, yeah, okay, I see you panicking. Good. You have a nice panic, let's go for a walk. I'm going to take you for a walk. And
And the mind actually calms down and over time can become more sensical through
yeah,
that.
yeah, this is we're so much of this is taking our mind from its wounded, fearful, limited belief state, opening it up and say, come on, we're going to go on this journey. It'll be okay. And you help it heal, you help it not be afraid, you help it love, you help it have gratitude and believe in other possibilities, and that you can try for it. And even if it doesn't work out the first time or it doesn't work, it's okay. There doesn't have to be a judgment or a painful feeling of failure about it. So, okay, we tried it and it didn't work. Like, okay, now we'll try this. So this is like training your mind to do that instead of, no, no, we can't do that because it might not work out. Oh no, what will people think? Like, come along, little child. I'm going to take care of you. And we're gonna go live life and be happier this way, but instead of living in the world the way it wants to live. Yeah, you have to take your mind along and take care of it to help it grow up because it's living in childhood dreams.
And this sensical thinking, now I want to say in my journey, and maybe some people this probably happened to is especially with trauma, is like then you hear about not living in fear and like not listening to the mind, then you can have another like almost like counter response, counter opposite response from another part of the mind actually that is like, okay, I'm gonna do like everything I love and everything I'm just gonna not consider any practical details and I'm just gonna be never listen to fear or never like never care what anybody thinks, but be like you know what I mean? Like going to the other extreme of it. And I've been caught in that several times. And that's what my mind's interpretation went into when I read about books like not listening to fear and stuff like that. My mind went into,
This
okay,
is
I'm
the
just gonna do the opposite. But that's
and
also like reactionary, actually.
this is the mind reacting and the mind's projection of what the other choice is or what the only other choice is.
Yeah, it's like black and white perception.
Extremism. The mind is this extremist in what its
There's like two
possibilities.
children.
It's
One
like
goes
both,
this way, one the other way.
it's like many children in there.
Nine children. Yeah. So it took me like, yeah, even recently and more, it's still like this awareness is coming of finding that place, like you mentioned, of navigating wisely and finding that balance. Like you don't live in fear, but you listen to practical reasonings and you live in love and go for what you care about and expand in that direction.
All of this is a high-speed process in Teotihuacan, and then you go home and the infusions happened and it continues to move through you.
Yeah. The two times I've been, it's been like a chaotic in a good way month or two after back home. Like it feels like, yeah, it felt like my mind and nervous system were completely resetting and there was still things coming out and coming in for about a month or two until I felt like maybe a new structure has been put in place.
Yeah, it stabilizes again. The change is happening. It takes a couple months for the new structure to stabilize.
And then you go again, you break that structure and you create another structure.
That's been my experience. And it's I would go even when I was teaching, and I would have a new experience. And one of my fellow teachers, she would experience a similar thing. And we come back from Teo, and she goes, "Well, what happened for you this time?" You know, I'd be like, and I would ask her when after she came back, okay, what happened for you? And she's like, okay, because there's a continual personal process and consciousness expansion and energy expansion, awareness expansion. Uh, even when I was teaching, so it's it's like exploring all these qualities of ourself and growing them, continuing to grow them, continue to grow consciousness, ability to love, to move energy, and just continue.
So
And
you're gonna have a new experience this year?
uh, I don't know, but I think I'm going to intend it. I have to think about. Oh yeah. See, now it's you asked me the question, like clarity's coming. I know what I want to do. Yeah.
Cool.
But it was fascinating because to be with Miguel, to talk about this, like how far can one go? What's yeah, I want to continue to grow and in love and compassion and awareness. And you know, it was funny to even this was the change in mindset because early on I had the mindset like, okay, you finished, you're there, or you're trying to get there, right? It was like my mind had made it kind of binary, one extreme or the other. You haven't made it or you made it. It's like it's such a stupid way to describe it, right? Because it's just like you're growing. You're growing into love, awareness, consciousness, um, and power. And it was a shock to my brain when one day we were on the pyramid of the sun and there's levels and we could walk around and I see Miguel ahead of me because we're all kind of our own pace going around the pyramid. And he's ahead of me and he's stopping in places and he's making kind of a prayer and intent at each corner. So we went around and I'm just like, well, he's doing what he told us to go do. He's because we had this process, this building, this so we're building this power and intent for the ceremony at the top. It's like he's doing what he told us to do. And I'm like, part of my Briscoe had this old model of how things are constructed. Oh, and of course he had made it. So, you know, why would he bother doing anything? And so I asked him later, I'm like, about it, since you were doing that. And he's like, oh yeah. And I was like, why? He's like, oh, because I go to recreate myself. I was like, click. My old model of like what made it is. I was like, no, this is an ongoing journey of exploration of what am I? What can I be? How much can I love? How much can I expand my consciousness as love? Um, and the very things that we were doing in the beginning of finding these ideas of ourselves and letting them go to die. Old agreements we had of I'm this and I'm that and I'm not good enough and like letting those go to die, all those versions of self. He was still doing at this other level of like, what's my past self? I'm letting it go. Whatever I have carried around, I'm letting it go, kind of to reawaken into being something new, or you know what we could call born again, but not in a you know into a new light and a higher consciousness, to awaken anew. It was like, okay, that's what's going on. It was like, okay, the what the journey looks like is now different. Still different and still like that. So yeah, I'm going to go do my process also and see what
You want
happens.
to share anything about it? Your intent? No pressure.
Not right now, no. Well, here's the thing. What I can say about the process is, if I let go of everything that I know that I am, if I let go of my history, from where I am, I can't see what I'll be next. So it's going to be a stepping into the unknown. Okay. I want to welcome and intend as much love and expansion of consciousness and awareness, um, and integrity. And when I step into it, then I'll experience what it is and I'll know. But my mind from here cannot know what that will be. So it's this leap of faith into the unknown for me. And that's
Wow.
somewhat what the spiritual journey is this leap of faith. I'm going to leave what I know, which the mind tries to say, no, no, you have to keep this in order to be safe. But that's just fear about what you should be and what other people thought you should be. It's leaving that fear of what you know. Say, I'm gonna take this leap of faith and trust. And the mind, of course, is scared about that because it wants to stay in this little box of fear. So, but any new transformation really is uh, feels like we're going to step into the abyss. Well,
And
we
what's
talked
your
well, we talked about that last time. What happens from the abyss is the infinite field of possibility, right? So we move into the next infinite field of possibility. But if we move in with intent, like of how we want to create, then okay, then we can kind of direct what our attention and the kind of outcome into that infinite field.
these days, how do you feel about going into the unknown?
I'm there all the time. You know, that's the truth of how life is.
Yeah. I guess it's our mind that really denies that, trying to pretend that we know for some illusion of safety or control.
Yeah, the mind has us in denial that we're living in, you know, uh, everything new every moment. You know, you do you know do you know what's going to happen today?
Oh, I bet
You
we
know, do you know what's going to
right.
happen tomorrow? No.
But when
But
you
if you
ask
ask,
this, my mind wants to tell you what it thinks will happen.
okay, that was my next question. And what does your mind say is going to happen today or happen tomorrow? And it will come up with big lists. And the things it will come up with will be projections of everything it's known from the past, and it will be the same as what's happened in the past. It will expect the same as what's happened yesterday and the day before and last week, right? And that's living in the known of the mind. Okay. And it's the leap of faith to say, no, there's other world, there's other possibilities for me. And I don't want to live the same kind of groundhog thing every day. I'm going to consciously intend to change something.
I think it's even noticing that it's different. Like, because my mind would say, well, I'm seeing so and so clients, and I'm doing writing about this today, and I'm seeing my girlfriend today. But even that is every time different. You know, it looks like it's never the same.
Yeah.
Even
But
that could be
now,
fun.
and when you experience it, do you experience it as it's the same? Or do you experience it as this is a brand new moment being born in creation?
It depends.
Okay.
Let's say
It,
with my clients, definitely it's a brand new moment because it's always fun and exciting. With my girlfriend, usually, but there's other stuff like more routine stuff, like um taking my dog out,
yeah, you see,
cooking, that I would love to experience as a brand new moment, and sometimes I do, but sometimes I fall into like this is just another thing, This is just
Yeah.
a thing I need to do.
Okay. And this is the difference between being awake and aware versus in the routines of the mind. Okay. And to be awake and aware, like present in the moment, like this moment exists just like it is, will never be anything like it. And if it's in the mind that way, you don't feel it. But if you feel it with your whole body, like this happening right now, you feel presence. You're in the present moment, your attention's in the present moment. And it's an experience of something. And your mind is quiet. But if you're in the routine, your mind is projecting, and you're probably in stories, or you're unconscious because your automatic unconscious habits are just running your day. And so you're us kind of asleep instead of awake and aware and present to the moment. And present to the moment, is just feels alive.
Ah, staying alive, staying alive. See, I didn't know I would say that or sing that. I think in my day to day when I do those activities, I notice my mind is like in some dream. And so I'm not like completely in it, but I can bring it or my nervous system sometimes to be present enough to enjoy the moment yet. And it almost depends on the day. Sometimes my nervous system is just kind of, because of continued practice, is calm and I enjoy those. And some days it's like, oh, my nervous system today is kind of iffy. And I notice that, but I don't manage yet to bring it to be present enough with me and enjoying like cooking or taking my dog out or any of those.
So in Teotihuacan, when I bring let go of the old stories of the past, get out of the habitual routines, just by getting on a plane and going to Mexico, showing up in a new place, like, okay, you're out of routines. You're right there in a new moment where life is unfolding. It's going to be different. You're already present. Everything's new. Then we add the energy, we add the love, we add the support from the people. It's like, man, it's a beautiful opportunity to recreate yourself. We add ceremony to do it. Okay, in that being awake and aware, then you look at your stories from that point of view and like, okay, well, let's let that go and we'll be with the emotions and all that history. And then then we start to look forward to, okay, what do we want to create for our life from this present aliveness, possibility, being in a field of love, supported by other people. Let's dream a new life we want to live. Launch that into creation. So that's the other half of Teos, the more fun part after you're done with the crying, like, okay, let's launch into joy, creating, activate your own energies of creation. And what do you want that to be for yourself? So that's the game of being a creator of your life with conscious awareness, with love, with wisdom, and without the fear, the mind, and the judge deciding what you create. That's the that's the second half of Teo, letting go and creating a new life. And including some common sense things as well.
And love, a lot of love.
The Beatles had it pretty good. All you need is love, but I think you need some wisdom too. Love can be naive. A child loves, but a child's naive. So you need, it's going to make life worthwhile is the love. It's the joy, the happiness, the fulfillment, the compassion comes with love. Relationships become beautiful with love. You know, but then we need wisdom because we navigate in a world that's pretty chaotic. We need some common sense. Okay. We need to be able to see choices, change plans, what's working, what's not working. So we don't want to leave all our experiences behind because from those we have a lot of wisdom, but we don't want to be dictated by the fears and the emotional pains of those experiences. So we have to kind of cull out the experience and the wisdom and say, okay, we're going to use that, the best of what we learned from the past, but then add the love and awareness, intent, power to create to it. And imagine, oh my God, dream a better life. Just to do that.
That's one of the fun parts in Teo, dreaming a
In,
new life.
instead of like what the mind is keeping us in habit, Groundhog Day.
I realized actually like a couple of weeks ago that a lot of the things I dreamed about for my life last time in Teo have happened. Um, and
Yeah.
that was a really that just the thought came and that was really nice, heartwarming.
Those things that you decided to create in Teos, what we do in that ceremony, creation ceremony, they happened.
Yeah. And sometimes I think when we send that intent, life comes back at you to help you. Because some of those were things that yeah, I don't have control about. Like I wanted to have like more friendships and like groups of friends that meet up every week. And I did take action after that. And I think a lot of that helped that. But somehow it happened. Somehow life came my way and we
Somehow.
have that. Well, we that could be a topic for another conversation, like about intent and all of that. There's a
Yeah,
science to it, I'm sure.
there's a science to it. It's a thing. Okay. Anyways, does that cover enough about Teo for now? Teotihuacan, October 7th to 14th, Mexico City. Information on the site pathwaytohappiness.com under events and in the Self Mastery community. You can sign up. We're taking reservations. That's my shameless plug. People are
Hey,
interested in going.
it's a service. Awesome. Awesome. Oh, well, there's more questions about Teo. I'll ask you in future times.
Okay.
Um,
We,
and the people may have, I can only project my mind could project some possible questions
I
people
can,
may have.
maybe I'll do something. I'm going to do an energy training, I think, and then we can cover some of the questions in the people show up in the community too. Or we can do them here. Here's good.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you. It's been
Thank
a
you.
pleasure.
Love you. Bye.
Love you.